There is nothing regular about this spectacular show. A surprise hit in every sense of the word, regular show wasn't what anybody asked for, but it's something we all needed. This charming show has captivated millions of viewers, both young and old, with its basic premise, intriguing characters, outlandish concepts, and wacky plots. Regular Show perfectly blends humour for both children and adults into a beautifully creative world with relatable characters, strange yet captivating plots, and songs that will stay in your head long after the ending credits appear. However, with over 200 episodes, some doing a better job at entertaining me than others, there's gotta be some that are just better than the rest. Hello everybody, Regular Rigby here, and today I'm going to share my thoughts on the top 10 Regular Show episodes. A few things to get out of the way first. This is solely my opinion and is not at all fact. If you disagree with my list or dislike the episodes on here, that's great. Let me know in the comments below which episode of Regular Show is your favourite. Secondly, this list only takes into account the episodes from the first 7 seasons of the show, since Season 8 hasn't aired as of me writing this script. And there are simply amazing episodes already, let alone Season 8 or beyond, so they will not be featured. That can be a list for another day. Finally, this will contain spoilers for the episodes featured, obviously, so spoiler warning. And with that said, sit back, relax, and let's get started with my top 10 favourite Regular Show episodes. Regular Show has a plethora of character-based episodes, most notably with many focusing on its 2 main characters, Mordecai and Rigby respectively. I've always been a fan of these episodes that go less for a grandiose story and ground itself into a character piece, and one of the better episodes to do this was none other than...
One pull-up!
Yes, if it wasn't obvious by now, Rigby is my favourite character in Regular Show, and this episode is one of the reasons why. Just like Bankshot, which is a fantastic episode that shows him off in a positive light despite barely making it off this list, One Pull-Up showcases why Rigby is a well-rounded character. It demonstrates his natural cocky attitude, as seen when he brags to all of his friends, but is quickly juxtaposed with the many failed attempts where his ego and the way he thinks everything is so easy makes him overlook the simplest of tasks and sets up for the plot for this episode. Now, the plot of this story is as stupid as it gets, as the main point is that the government has introduced a new law that makes it mandatory for all park employees to pass a fitness test.
Unfortunately, the government just passed a new law. Starting today, all park employees must pass an annual fitness test in order to keep their jobs.
Except Benson for some reason. And for an unbeknownst reason, being able to do a pull-up is necessary for proper park care and to keep your job? Okay, we'll roll with it. After everyone does it flawlessly, even the noodle-armed Pops manages to show Rigby up. He tries and fails miserably. The story then focuses on him trying the only way Rigby knows how. Video games, and gives us the setup for the funniest joke of the episode.
If it's not doing anything, then how come I'm already breaking a sweat?
I don't know. Maybe because you're really out of shape?
I love just how Mordecai delivers the deadpan joke and points out just how out of shape Rigby actually is, and cements the fact that this one pull-up is an actual goal that Rigby needs to attain despite all of his carbo loading. This, however, is where the episode blossoms for me. When there is the introduction of Eileen. Now by this stage, Eileen has become more and more of a standout character, and her affections for Rigby are obvious at this point, but the chemistry these two share during these scenes is paramount in this episode, and it really shows just how much Eileen not only cares for Rigby, but also that she believes in him no matter what, even when he doesn't believe in himself. Side note, Eileen is a badass. Did you see all those flips and pull-ups? After quite the great homage to Rocky's training scene, ba-na-na, na-na-na, Rigby gives up, proclaiming that it's too hard. This is when he stumbles upon the Russian, which is supposed to help you get strong by doing absolutely nothing. This makes complete sense for Rigby's character to use this, as he is just a lazy raccoon who's always looking for the easy way out, and leads to the surreal element of this episode, Mega Rigby. Does this make the Russian Rigby's Rigbonite? Pokemon jokes for the win! It is at this moment where the episode shines through, as it demonstrates that, despite Rigby's lazy attitude, he pulls through where it counts, and his determination is on display as he feverishly stomps his way to that bar, and despite the ground caving in underneath him due to his weight, he doesn't give up until he obtained that goal, securing that
one pull up, one pull up.
And in classic Hollywood fashion, there's only 1 second left on the clock. Overall, One Pull Up is a fun, albeit small, romp and gives a nice little episode dealing with Rigby along with his blossoming relationship with Eileen, and offers a few funny moments throughout, such as Fives doing push-ups despite being a floating ghost, or Skips being so strong that he does it on basketballs. With a great message about no shortcuts to physical fitness,
Oh, Rigby, there are no shortcuts to physical fitness.
and a brilliant ending scene in which Eileen recounts how it was worth a hug from Rigby despite all the broken bones, this episode truly deserves the number 10 spot as much as Rigby deserved that one pull-up. Throughout the first 2 seasons, Mordecai pined for Margaret despite her never being interested and having a string of boyfriends. In Season 3, she began to warm up to him, and it all culminated in the train wreck of a scenario that provided quite the entertaining episode and conclusion to Season 3. That's right, number 9 on my list is none other than Bad Kiss. As much as I enjoyed the Getting Margaret trilogy, consisting of Do or Diaper, Picking Up Margaret, and Media Moves, all ending in an episode that I'll talk about later, Stake Me Amadeus, it was Bad Kiss which was more of the stepping stone into the inevitable relationship between the two avians that proved to be the standout episode of the bunch. In the episode, it centers around Mordecai and Margaret finally having their big first kiss, which was built up throughout the first 3 seasons, which isn't as magical as either of them had hoped because of Mordecai's bad breath. You ate a hot dog with extra onions off of the dirty ground on a date. What were you thinking, man?
What? 5-second rule.
This sets up for the funniest of not only the episodes, but possibly the whole series. The joke when Mordecai finally tells Rigby of his not-so-triumph, Rigby delivers the funniest, well-timed, and incredibly well-delivered deadpan responses.
Whoa. I owe Muscle Man so much money.
Ugh.
It was so unexpected from Rigby, but I loved how he mirrored the audience's thoughts. It was never gonna happen. Trust Regular Show to make the lovable goofball stuff everything up right when he finally gets his big moment. This results in Rigby, who always comes through for Mordecai in a pinch, supplying the plot point of the episode. The Spherical Time Ball. Here, the show plays with time, even though their version of how time travel affects everything is skimmed over with the most Regular Show line of them all.
I don't know, I'm not an expert on time travel. Just tell him what's up.
Regular Show doesn't care about the implications of time travel or telling a complicated drama about the ramifications of messing with time. It just wants to tell a fun story about how a blue jay kissing a red robin was messed up by bad breath, and so his best raccoon friend go back in time to help him out. Simple. Although I did love the subtle hint at the start of the episode of Mordecai laying into Rigby about talking to him during the movie, alluding to the multiple Mordecais and Rigbys later in the episode. I also enjoyed the little stroll through memory lane as they chased past Mordecai. A nice touch. I also love how non-understanding past Mordecai is, and how the Blue Jay's main antagonist in this episode is his own stubbornness, and how he doesn't even believe in the possibility of kissing Margaret, which creates the conflict in the first place. It all wraps up nicely with Rigby's reveal of a second time machine, them disposing of the past Mordecais and simultaneously destroying the time machines, despite them still being around for Exit 9B. This episode was fun, entertaining, and gave us a good insight into just how little Mordecai thought of himself, and how he thought it was impossible for Margaret to ever want to kiss him, thus entailing the screw-up in the first place. The bad breath. This episode truly deserves its spot as not only the best Mordecai/Margaret episode, but also the number 9 spot on this list. And as always,
You gotta pack a mint, bro.
Now, I'm not a fan of this style of anime, or Transformers, which this episode greatly parodies, but that can't stop me from loving this love letter to all anime fans everywhere, and a great way to celebrate 100 episodes of Regular Show, despite not actually airing as the 100th episode. I'm of course talking about the number 8 spot, A Bunch of Full-Grown Geese. This episode seems like a basic plot, with Mordecai and Rigby trying to clear away a gaggling group of ginormous giddy gangster geese. Alliteration for the win! But this episode takes a fantastic turn when they call up one of the greatest side characters, the baby ducks, who the two both raised in a previous episode. However, that's when everything turns very Regular Show, for lack of a better term, when the geese transform into their mega geese and it gets that red tinge which always signifies the dissipation of the normal as we are plunged into the world of the wacky. The ducks then transform and we get a thrilling, action-packed ride through the second half of this episode, which is just a giant geese mech versus a giant duck mech with no stopping in between. What else could you ask for? The best part of this episode is when the baby ducks call for Mordecai and Rigby's help, which leads to an incredible transformation scene where all the little props and things from the past episodes all fuse together, creating this big mech to fight off the ducks. You've got the return of the egg skeleton hat, the power arm, basketball shoes, the video game glove, fanny pack, rad soda, just to name a few. During this sequence, the rocking You've Got the Touch by Stan Bush is playing, further cementing the homage to the Transformers and rounding out this scene to be just fantastically silly and the perfect regular show episode. It all ends with a really funny joke when the baby duck's mother, whose voice is just a slightly deeper Margaret, flies down to berate Benson, which earned a chuckle from me. I mean, Benson, this middle-aged gumball, was yelling at tiny baby ducks after all.
Grown man yelling at baby ducks. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Overall, this is a great way to celebrate 100 episodes, incorporating great callbacks, interesting animation, kick-ass music, and just an enjoyable viewing experience. No, the plot isn't deep, and there are no character explorations or development, but we don't need that every episode. We can just sit back, relax, and enjoy 4 baby ducks fusing together in a mech suit to fight out 4 geese fusing together in a mech suit. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, if you'll excuse me, you never walk, you never run, you're a winner. It's like there's a certain type of episode that I like more than others. Can you sense the pattern? I'll give you a clue. It's another character-based episode, focusing on just how close Mordecai and Rigby are, magnifying their true friendship. Focusing on how Rigby has been called a bad friend and he tries super hard to make Mordecai feel appreciative and overall just wants to prove to Mordecai that Rigby deserves to be his best friend and wants to give him the best birthday gift ever. Have you figured it out? Yep, number 7 on my list is none other than the aforementioned birthday gift. This episode starts with a nice little song, courtesy of Rigby, about how it's Mordecai's birthday. Yo, it's your birthday, I give the best presents. So, is he officially 24 now? This segues into the funniest joke between Mordecai and Skips.
You can't rhyme present with presents.
Yeah, that's just careless rapping.
Now, it might not seem that funny, but I just love how they talk about bad, careless rapping, considering that's half of what regular show is about. And that bro fist is just the icing on the cake. Now, I say this because this isn't the funniest episode. But once again, it is more a character piece as we delve into Rigby and Mordecai's friendship, but on Rigby's side. Don't worry, another entry further down lays Mordecai's side as well. Foreshadowing. It starts with a montage of Rigby's horrible gift, including one that just says, I owe you. And so he sets off to prove he can get the best gift for his best friend. Trust Rigby was more about to get a world's greatest Rigby mug rather than at least a world's greatest Mordecai. That fits so well with his selfish but well-meaning nature. He actually does think Mordecai would love it, despite how stupid the idea sounds when he stands back and actually analyzes his actions. After coming to the conclusion of a video game, Rigby tries to buy one but gets a harsh reality lesson that is all too real. Video games are too freaking expensive. So he sulks to Eileen. Love the visual gag of how he actually crossed out his name and wrote Mordecai in pen on the mug. When plot device Zaxxon walks through the door, offering Rigby a chance to make his own video game with a horrible looking machine, and of course Rigby goes along for the ride. Now, before he can be ready to make it, he needs, well, training. Cue another montage.
Let the intense training montage begin!
I'm sensing a strange trend in all of my favourite episodes of this show. We then get his results. That walnuts are smarter than Rigby. Well, we always knew Rigby was really dumb, but now we have a point of reference to his actual intellect. Walnut level! Don't worry, Riggs, I still love you, brains or no brains. Psst, so does Eileen. After having to beat his own game in order to produce it, which is a fun little romp but a missed opportunity to make a Donkey Kong reference with Skips as Donkey and Mordecai as Pauline. Yes, it wasn't Peach in the original game. Know your history. Either way, the awesome game is complete and he gives it to Mordecai, and in true regular show and Rigby fashion, the game is complete S. But Mordecai loves it because that's how he knows it was from Rigby, his best friend. It's a surprisingly touching ending to a great episode, with that final line acting as the digital cherry on the cake. Quest. And that's what birthday gift snags the number 7 spot. But don't take my word for it. Take it from Eileen.
That video was uninformative and poorly produced.
Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, Mark Hamill, Mark Hamill. He's been Luke, he's been many iterations of the Joker, and he's been the ever-loving Skips. Skips is such a lovable character, immortal, shrouded in mystery for most of the show, clearly has a tragic past that has been hinted at before now, but overall, he's just the guy that Mordecai and Rigby go to when they screw everything up. However, the time has finally come for us to truly understand the character that is Skips. Yep, you guessed it, taking up the number 6 spot on my list is none other than Skips' story. Now, right off the bat, I just want to point out the awesome change in intro music, which set the tone right from the starting gate that this would be an important episode. Skips has always been an intriguing character, especially when paired with Gary or the Guardians of Eternal Youth, or GEY. But apart from a lot of monotone gags and sparse episodes with him as the focus, we don't really know anything about this character until the amazing Skips' story. The plot starts out just like our previous entry, with the 3 on the roof and a song being sung. However, instead of switching to the focus to our main heroes like usual episodes, it immediately changes towards Skips, thanks to Rigby casually mentioning how he's immortal, and them trying to figure out how immortal he actually is, setting up for my personal favourite joke of the episode.
Swimming 1 hour after eating.
That has never killed me.
Wow.
From here, we see where Walks' story, as he starts high school, adopting a very fun British accent. But don't think I missed the
A long time ago, in a high school far, far away.
Easter egg they slipped in there. Nice one, Hamill. Very nice one indeed. Anyway, it is here that we see Walks' meeting with Gareth, or Gary, as he shows him around, and the two form a quick friendship along with the GEY, which all 5 are present for since Archibald hasn't yet been killed, and suddenly the antagonist Clogbane walks into the scene. Here is where we see that not only this is a prologue for Skips, but also for the episode Fists of Justice, where we see Skips must defeat Clogbane, just like he does at the climax of this tale. I love how we get to actually see the fists being constructed for the first time. It's a nice touch. However, this isn't just a nerds defeating the bully story. At the crux of this ye olde English tale lies quite a beautiful yet tragic love story between Walks and Desdemona, or just Mona for short. The two hit it off when Gareth and the GEY come in to remind him of the big fight, causing an outburst from Mona, who can't stand violence. It is here that the main conflict, which is ironic since the episode's plot revolves around a big fight, comes into play between Walks standing up for his friends or being with his one true love, which Skips aptly is confused over and states that,
Oh, high school is so complicated.
We then get, yep, you guessed it, another montage, this time of Walks and Mona, which shows them skipping everywhere, and Mona aptly bestows Walks with the name that he cherishes forever, Skips. Eventually, Skips does fight with Clogbane, and unfortunately Mona is caught in the crossfire and dies, and only her locket survives. Without needing any words, apart from him screaming her name, Mona! We see the absolute horror and sadness on his bruised face as tears streak down his cheeks. Hamill's delivery of the aftermath, deadpanned and lacking any emotion, is brilliant, and we really feel for Skips and how he lost, as he puts it, the only girl he ever loved. It ends with him promising to stop Clogbane when Clogbane returns and gets immortality, getting to choose a new name to be reborn under, and, after a touching flashback of him skipping around with Mona, he officially becomes Skips, and will skip to the end of eternity because it's the only way he can be close to her. This episode ends with an incredibly touching scene of him looking at the old locket that he kept all this time with their pictures in a love heart, as he smiles up to the sky before getting straight back to work, washing away his tears. A brilliant end to an outstanding episode.